Hello students, today we'll begin with the chapter Reproduction. Chapter number 10. What is reproduction? It is defined as a biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones, similar to itself. The offspring grows, matures, and it turns produce new offspring. Thus, there is a cycle of birth, growth, and death. And reproduction enables the continuity of species generation after generation. You can recall the processes like digestion, circulation, respiration, etc., which you have already studied in the previous classes. Even you have studied about reproduction in plants in class 7. You learnt about the process of reproduction in plants. And in this chapter, you will study about the reproduction in animals. You can imagine what would happen if organism had not reproduced. That's why reproduction is very important as it ensures the continuation of similar kinds of individual generation after generation. In this chapter, you will study about the animals, that means human beings and different animals, how they reproduce. So first, let's move on to the topic types of reproduction. There are two types of reproduction, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, when offspring is produced by a single parent with or without the involvement of gamete formation. Gamete is not a new word for you. You have studied in chapter number 11, 10 in adolescence. And sexual reproduction, when two parents which are of opposite sex, male and female, participate in reproductive process and also involves the fusion of male and female gametes. You might have seen the kittens, the puppies. They look exactly like their young ones. Why they are similar? This is a question. Why they are similar to their parents? Because their mother and father, they were opposite sexes and they have same genes. And when they reproduce, they are exactly similar to their parents. There is a table in NCERT book 9.1 where the name of the animals are given. You have to just write beside it the young ones of theirs. Now, can you name some of the parts of the plant? If I ask you, obviously you will be, because you have studied about the flowering parts of a plant, reproductive parts of a plant. Similarly, in animals, the males and females have different reproductive parts or organs. Reproductive parts in animals also produces gametes that fuses to form a zygote. And finally, the zygote develops into a new individual. And this type of reproduction, beginning from the fusion of male and female gametes, is called as sexual reproduction. Next topic is your male reproductive organs. So, the male reproductive organs consist of these following parts, which you can see in the picture. Let's begin with it. First of all, it is testes. Testes is plural because two are there. There is a pair of testes that produces the male sex gamete, the sperm, and produces the male sex hormone that is called as testosterone. These testes are located inside the scrotal sac. What is a scrotal sac? It is a bag-like structure that holds the testes outside the abdominal cavity of the body. Testis produces millions of sperm which are very small in size. Each sperm has a head, a middle piece and a tail. And the tail helps the sperm to swim. Then you can see epididymis. It is a long, narrow coil tube attached to the surface of testis where sperms are temporarily stored. Then you have sperm duct, that is also called as vas deferens, that is its function is to transport the sperm to the urethra. And what is urethra? It transports the sperms and urine at different times. There is a prostate gland, you can see, secretes fluids that provide nutrition to the sperm, and these secretions together with the hair with the sperm form semen. And finally, a penis is there, which allows urine to release as well as semen to pass from the man's body. During the reproduction process, the semen passes to the vagina of a woman body. Now, you can see the human sperm. It is having a head, a middle piece, and a tail. What only the head portion is active, which enters to the female egg. Now, next is your female reproductive system. It consists of these following parts, as you can see. There are a pair of ovaries that produces female gametes, ova or ovum. The ovaries also produces female sex hormones that is called as estrogen and progesterone. There you can see two fallopian tubes that is also called as oviducts take up the ovum and transport it to the uterus. Fallopian tubes have finger-like projections and open up in a funnel-shaped structure. These finger-like projections receives the egg or the ovum as it comes out of the ovaries. This fertilization, the fertilization of eggs by a sperm takes place in the oviduct, the fallopian tube. Okay. Uterus is a bag or a womb-like structure where the fertilized eggs develops into a baby. And finally, there is a cervix or vagina. It is a ring of muscles that closes the lower end of the uterus, as you can see in the picture. These are the reproductive parts of female. Now, in human beings, a single mature egg is released into the oviduct by one of the ovaries every month. Uterus is a part where development of the baby takes place. Next topic we have is the human development. How does a baby develops? So as you can see, the ovum, millions numbers of sperms are attached to the ovum. Only among them, the active one enters the head portion of it. Finally, when it fuses the egg, it becomes a zygote. Then after further division, it becomes blastocyst. That means the numbers of cell increases. Then it becomes a small embryo. And finally, it looks like a fetus, a normal small baby inside the womb. These are certain definitions which are important for you in the topic fertilization. The first step in the process of reproduction is the fusion of sperm. Okay, and here when the sperm comes in contact with an egg, one of the sperms may fuse with the egg. Such fusion of egg and sperm is called as fertilization. During fertilization, the nuclei of the sperm and the egg to form a single nucleus. Hence, it results in the formation of a fertilized egg, or it is called as zygote. Then the process of fertilization keeps on continuing, developing, and the characteristics of a mother and a father starts developing inside the body. Finally, the embryo, and it is similar to the exact copy of mother and father. An organism in its early stage of development, when it is embedded, especially before it has reached a distinctively recognizable form. Next, fertilizations only that takes place inside the body are of two types. Fertilization inside the body is internal fertilization, and fertilization outside the body is external fertilization. So first of all, we'll deal with the internal fertilization. What happens during fertilization, which takes place inside a female body, that is called as internal fertilization. It occurs in many of the animals, including the cows, humans, dogs, hens, etc. In internal fertilization, the sperms are deposited in or near the female reproductive tract and fertilization occurs within the tract. That's why it's called as internal fertilization. Next, a topic is there. Have you heard about the test tube babies? That is called as IVF or an in vitro fertilization. That means the fertilization which is holding in humans inside the body that takes place outside the body. In this case of IVF fertilization, the zygote is allowed to develop about a weeks and then it is placed in the mother's uterus. Complete development takes place in the uterus and the baby is born like any another baby. So babies born with through these techniques are called as test tube babies. Surprisingly, many people think that they are growing in the test tubes. No, it is not like that. Only the fertilization process is being carried out, taken out, done in the test tubes. Later on, all the further development happens in the uterus of the mother. So with this, we end up the topic. In the next class, we'll move with the external fertilization. Thank you.